The first knock came from my front door. The second came from my basement door. But the one I still think about came from my daughter's bedroom window, after the police had already left. This happened last summer, on a humid night after a thunderstorm. My wife and daughter were visiting her parents for the weekend, and I was home alone. I worked as a night shift warehouse supervisor, so being awake at 2 a.m. was normal. I had switched to days off, and my body had no idea what to do with the quiet. We lived in an older suburban neighborhood, with detached houses and narrow driveways. Across from us was an empty house with a faded for sale sign in the yard. That house had been empty for months. The grass was high. Flyers were stuffed in the mailbox. The porch light never worked. I had noticed small things there before, but I had always explained them away. A curtain that looked slightly moved. A black trash bag near the side gate. Once, a car idling across the street for a few minutes before leaving. I figured it was real estate agents, teenagers, or someone cutting through the yard. That night, the neighborhood was dead quiet after the storm. The roads were wet. I was watching TV with the volume low, half awake, half restless, when someone knocked on my front door. 3 times. I muted the TV. No one knocked again. I got up and looked through the peephole, but I couldn't see anyone. Just my porch, the wet steps, and the street beyond it. Then my phone buzzed. It was a notification from my camera doorbell. The camera always glitched after heavy rain, so the first few seconds of the video were black and smeared. When the image cleared, there was nobody there. Only the porch, only the street. Then, across the road, I saw movement at the empty house. One upstairs curtain slipped back into place. I stood there longer than I should have. I told myself the storm pushed air through a broken window. Maybe some neighborhood kid had knocked and run off. Maybe the camera had triggered late. I locked the deadbolt and checked the living room window. The empty house looked dark again. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed with another camera alert. This time, the saved clip showed someone standing on my porch. Not their face, only from the chest down. Dark pants, old work boots, a hand holding something folded. In the clip, the person leaned forward and placed the paper against my door. Then they stepped out of frame. I waited almost a full minute before I opened the door. I only opened it a few inches. The paper was still there. It was folded once. Inside, written in plain block letters, were the words, "You should not leave her room unlocked." I read it twice before I understood what it meant. My daughter was not home, but her bedroom faced the backyard, and one of her windows had a weak latch. I had told my wife a dozen times I needed to fix it. Then I kept putting it off. I went through the house, checking every lock. Front door, back door, kitchen window, bathroom window. Then I went into my daughter's room. Her room still smelled faintly like strawberry shampoo and crayons. The stuffed animals were lined against the wall exactly how she left them. I checked the window. It was closed, but the latch was not fully locked. My stomach turned. I pushed it down until it clicked, then noticed mud on the outside sill, just a smear, like someone had rested a hand there. I called my wife. I tried to sound calm, but she heard it in my voice. "What happened?" she asked. I told her someone was messing around outside. I didn't say anything about the note at first. I didn't want her driving scared. While I was on the phone, I saw a small flash of light across the street, a phone flashlight, inside the empty house. It flickered once in an upstairs room and then disappeared. I should have called the police. Instead, I made the mistake of trying to understand it first. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer, stepped onto my porch, and called out toward the empty house. "Who's over there?" My voice sounded too small in the wet street. The empty house stayed dark. I kept the flashlight, on the upstairs windows, waiting for movement. Then the second knock came, behind me, from the side yard. 3 slow knocks from the basement door. My basement entrance was outside, down a set of old wooden steps on the side of the house. The door had a cheap motion camera above it because raccoons had gotten in months earlier. I backed into the house and locked the front door. My phone buzzed again. Basement camera. The live feed showed a man standing at the bottom of the steps. He was looking directly into the camera. In his hand was my daughter's pink rain boot. That boot should have been inside the house, in the mudroom. I called 911. The dispatcher told me to stay away from the doors and move to a room where I could lock myself in. I started toward my bedroom, then stopped. My daughter's room was upstairs and had the best view of the backyard and the empty house. As I moved down the hallway, I heard scraping from below the basement door. Someone was trying to force it open. There was an inside door at the top of the basement stairs. I dragged a heavy dresser from the hallway and shoved it against that door. It scraped loudly over the floor. I hated how much noise it made, but I needed something between them and the house. I kept the lights off. Then my phone buzzed again. Another doorbell clip. This time, a second person stood on the front porch, wearing a rain jacket. Their face was hidden by the hood. They leaned close to the camera and whispered, "He went upstairs." I stopped breathing. That meant someone could see me. I dropped to the floor and crawled away from the hallway window. Across the street, the upstairs room in the empty house had a faint glow behind the curtain. A silhouette stood there, watching my house. They were using it as a lookout. Downstairs, the basement door cracked. The dresser shifted. I did not wait to find out how long it would hold. I crawled to the upstairs bathroom, opened the small window, and climbed onto the low roof over the garage with my phone and keys in my hand. I landed badly when I dropped to the driveway. Pain shot up my ankle, but I stayed moving. I limped toward my truck. Something moved in the side yard. A person ran toward me from the shadow between my house and the fence. I hit the remote start and horn button on my keys again and again. The truck headlights flashed. The horn blasted through the street. The person stopped for half a second. That was enough. I got into the truck, locked the doors, and reversed out of the driveway while still on the phone with 911. As I pulled into the street, I looked at the empty house. The upstairs curtain opened all the way. Someone stood there with a phone raised, filming me leave. Police arrived a few minutes later. They searched my house and the empty house across the street. In my basement stairwell, they found muddy footprints and pry marks near the lock. In the empty house, they found bottled water, cigarette butts, food wrappers, and a sleeping bag. Someone had been staying there for days. In the upstairs bedroom facing my house, they found pieces of paper taped to the wall. Notes about us. Wife's car gone. Child gone. Man awake nights. Basement door weak. Camera blurry in rain. They also found things taken from my property. A garden glove. A missing package envelope. My daughter's rain boot. A keychain from my wife's car. No one was caught. My family stayed with relatives after that. 2 weeks later, I was going through the cloud storage from my doorbell camera, trying to save everything for insurance and the police. That was when I found one clip from 3 nights before the knocks. It was 3:12 in the morning. A man stood on my porch, close to the camera, holding one finger to his lips. Behind him, in the reflection of the glass door, I could see my living room, and I could see myself sleeping on the couch. The knock was never the beginning. It was just the night they finally wanted me to know they had been there.